like that disorder. I like that disorder as well. My brain works in that kind of like in a kind of in a way that brings disorder. I probably should tell you, I've got mild kind of tourettes,
Right.
which I only got diagnosed 4 years ago, but I've had it all my life.
Right.
So I've always had this. It's like a mild, so it's not like shouty, sweary tourettes.
Totally.
It's I've got a lot of tics, a lot of facial tics.
Yeah.
And if it comes out worse when I'm kind of anxious or
Right.
you know,
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that.
So it's but I've over the years I've used them tics when I was a child or in school. I'd mask them by being the funny person, back
like
in the class and joking about. So I'd incorporate everything into doing something stupid.
So it became a part of your personality and
part of my
character.
Yeah.
You know, like
and then, but I didn't know it was Tourette's. That was back in the 70s and 80s. Nobody knew what Tourette's was.
Right.
So it's only just like 4 years ago, because they were getting really bad, my tics, I went to see a doctor and said, "Oh, you've got Tourette's," or that. And I was like, "Yes."
That explained it all,
so
right, man. Wow,
that's just explained what I've been doing for the last 50 years.
Amazing, man. I like that.
And why I did that.
You've had that feeling, but you've not had an explanation for it for so long. It must have been such a light bulb moment. You know what I mean?
It's a neurological condition, isn't it? It's not mental health or anything. But I didn't realise what it also affects is like your concentration span and not being able to look at something and be practical and logical about it. Or get frustrated with things really quickly. It's like ADHD almost. It's
right. It's got similar symptoms.
That's really connected with Tourette's as well, and that explained all of my school years in one go like that.
Right.
Like I wasn't able to concentrate on anything. For like 2 minutes, and I'd go off on tangents, and my mind would just wander. And
I was a bit like that myself. Totally,
5 minutes. Totally. 5 minutes in a lesson. In a maths lesson at school, I was off somewhere else. I was painting pictures in my head and walking the dog and
But that's like that imagination, but like the imagination fired up as well from a very young age. You know what I mean?
It was always there. I mean, and also painting and drawing, I learnt from like 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
These tics would.
What you were doing it from that age?
Yeah. These tics would go away. These tics would go away or relax a lot
while
more.
you were painting and stuff.
And I realised that's where it's all stemmed from. It's all stemmed from being a 5-year-old who tics. To the teacher saying, "Well, sit down and do that." I remember exactly what it was. It was a picture of a blue jay bird.
Right.
And the teacher said, "Draw that." And so I sat and draw it, and I would really concentrate. I was there for like 2 hours, and then the teacher said, "Oh, that's brilliant." And he put it in a wee frame, pinned it up in the foyer, in front of the school and everything. And the buzz I got from that was like that.
Right. Wow, man.
I felt great when I was doing that.
So not only did it kind of distract you enough to prevent any tics or anything like that, but it also gave you the buzz of like you're getting praise for something good, and you enjoyed that feeling. Yeah, totally, man.
And as I went through school, I realised I wasn't good at anything else.
Right.
And so that was the only thing I was good at.
I had a similar realisation about music. Do you know what I mean?
So at 10 years old, I realised at 10 years old, really early, I'm going to have to do this as a career. Or I'm going to have to do this anyway. And maybe if it's not a career, I'm going to have to do this. It's going to have to be a massive part of my life. I want to go to art school. So that was it. So
from that age, from the age of 5, you were like,
well, 10 years old. 10 years old before I come to that realisation. 5 years old, I realised that this was helping me. But 10 years old, I realised that's the only thing I'm good at. I thought I'd be a little bit good at English as well. So all I did was concentrate on that. So at school, that's the only things I wanted to do.
Totally.
So I was just the joker in the class idiot for the rest of all the other lessons, or even in the art lessons as well. But
did you realise at that time in the art lessons that the art was special to you?
Yeah, that was it, and that's all I wanted to do. So the art lessons. Fortunately, when I went to secondary school, I ended up having a really good art teacher. It could have gone either way. So my art teacher was brilliant. He was hard as nails, but he was really good at kind of encouraging people.
Yeah. We had cool art teachers. When we were at school as well, there was some really cool art teachers that everybody would remember now as being like the same way. Some a bit harsh and a bit like it wasn't really like a teacher-pupil relationship. And it seemed to me that I kind of like I appreciated that. I spent a lot of time there, even though they were all into music as well, so I spent a lot of time there too. But there was something different about the art teachers and the rest of the teachers in the school. I think I always remember that, Quality, man, quality. This art teacher, he was really good. So he would take some of my paintings without me knowing, enter them into competitions. Oh, really?
And then they'd win, he would tell me and give me the prize. And I'm like, there you go, you just won a prize.
Wow, man, that's great.
And you need to go to this thing on this night. Okay, brilliant. So that kind of really spurred me on. So when it came to applying for art school, you know, it was kind of plain sailing for me because I knew I was going to get in because I had such a body of work that I knew it was going to happen.
Like you already had it all there anyway.
It was all there, you know, from a very young age. So yeah, and it was kind of.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Then, like you were already, and it already was a kind of. Not laid out path, not set in stone or anything, but you were seeing a path there anyway.
Which is just as well because I was, as I say, because of my concentrations, but I was rubbish at everything else. And all the teachers and all the other lessons hated me with a passion.
Yeah.
And this was back in, like I say, the 70s and the 80s. So, you know, corporal punishment was still about. So you're still getting whacked with you used to get the cane down.
Get the cane, aye. Oh, you got that here at that time as well. By the time we were in school and stuff, I'm 35 just now, but by the time we were in school, it was you weren't getting the corporal punishment anymore, but it wasn't that long before. Do you know what I mean? So everybody, like my mum and all that, they were always telling us the stories about what used to happen.
We used to get the cane, but the guy who gives the headmaster who gives the cane, he was really regulatory about it, so he'd only hit you not very hard, so it didn't hurt. And you kind of pull your hand away as he did it.
Yeah.
So what happened is me and my friends used to get into a competition of who can get the cane the most times. So, you know, you had that thing in assembly where somebody had done something and the teacher said, right, if nobody owns up to this, then you're all going to get punished. So I was like, no, I did it. And my friends were like, no, I did it. It's like Spartacus. So there were 10 kids saying, no, I did it.
Brilliant, man.
And then whoever could convince the teacher would get the cane, you were like, yes.
No, that's brilliant, man. That's great. So do you think like the tourettes is part of your art style? It comes from that then?
Yeah, it's like I said, there's so many things going on. I mean, like when I said, when I start with a story, a definite story, but that goes on for tangents, that's my mind. So I'll have maybe I think there's 5 paintings in the story, and there's that scene. And once I start getting into it, you know, within the first painting, I think, oh, well, actually, there's another subplot that's gone off that scene.
Yeah, so
something else is happening.
Can go in
there's
there,
another character has just arrived now that's arrived on my head, so that person's going off to do that, or this thing's going to go do that. So that kind of spins off onto different paintings.
I don't know if it's an unfair comparison, but it seems like in some ways like a bit like comic books. Is that fair to say? Is that fair? I've never really thought about paintings like in a series that tell a story that way, but of course there is. Do you know what I mean? And then again, obviously, like it's like not stylistically, it's not the same, but it is.
There's a guy actually years ago, about 5-6 years ago, and he was writing a graphic novel, and it was all about the Highland clearances. It was called Sky, and he asked me to do the illustration for it because my style, I think you're right, would lend itself to
narrative building in it.
So I was doing it for about 6 months or so, but I couldn't get to grips with the discipline of it. It's really disciplined, and you got to produce a lot of things in a short space of time. And you got to produce a lot of similar things. And it's really, you know, there's too much discipline for that for me.
You have to give too many instances in the story, whereas where you say if you've got 4 or 5 paintings, that's the whole story. Comic books, it's like thousands of tiny images. That seems stressful. Man.
I couldn't cope with that discipline. You know, that's different. You know, that's another skill altogether, I think. And I really, you know, take my hat off to people that can do that.
They can do it totally, man.
Graphic novels, I really have a new kind of respect for that.
I suppose like animators and that's a similar. Maybe not since computers have become so powerful, but I suppose like back in the day, animators would have been drawing everything in the same way, thousands of images and like wow. Man.
Spending months doing like 5 seconds worth of cartoons or something.
It could be, or even like just on a constant thing, having to do like a half-hour episode every night. You know what I mean? So like,
could not do that. I could not do it. Like I say, my tourettes, my mind's gone off in too many different directions. You know, even when I'm painting, you know, I'll be painting for an hour, then I'll need to stop. My mind will start wandering, and I know it myself. I know when it's coming, so I think I might as well just stop now, and I'll pick up the guitar and start doing
something else.
Or try and write something.
So you are like used to this this kind of schedule, like your interruption and your concentration, and so you build your activities.
Build everything into
that in a lot of ways as well.
Or go downstairs and cook something, and make a pie or whatever, you know, whatever. I need like loads of creative outlets, whatever that is.
Does that happen while you're actually drawing as well? So like, again, I don't know anything about the technical side of art or anything, but like part of what struck me about your style is like there's a lot happening. It's like sometimes you look at a painting of a field or a farm and it's lovely, it's technically proficient, and it looks like what the photo of that place would look like, but it's no. It doesn't appeal to me for some reason. And part of what appealed me about yours was like there was a lot happening. There was a lot to look at, you know. And every time I feel like I look at one, then I see something different in it that I've not noticed before, which I loved. You know what I mean? I think that's great.
But that's what happens in my paintings. That if I'll have a